team. So we are doing our first weekly reading of September. And because I don't have my calendar right now, I will put the dates in the description. I don't know about you, but it's been so hard to keep track of the days recently for me. All right. So I have already uploaded the September monthly video, so you can go ahead and check that out. That's a reading for all signs, and then this reading is going to be sign specific. All right, so I shuffled a little bit before I turned on the camera, and I cut the deck into 3 piles, and we're just gonna get to it. All right, so Aries, you have the Empress. Hopefully you can see this okay. We have a little bit of different lighting in my room. So the Empress is a card of giving, and it's asking us to check in about whether we are over giving, so giving beyond our means, how we feel about receiving, whether or not we're willing to ask for help or accept help that's being given to us. And I'm hearing for you that it's really a question of like productivity, what makes you feel useful, and trying to define your worth outside of this like use value. So you have a lot of big questions that are coming up. It's not only relegated to your work performance, but job stuff is probably going to come up for sure. But also thinking about the ways that you feel productive in your home life and in your relationships and in your friendships. How many of your relationships do you think about in terms of like what you can provide other people? And are you afraid that if you remove that from that dynamic that, you know, your relationship will be different? So really, lots of self-questioning coming up for you this week. I applaud you in doing this work. It's not always easy to answer those questions, but I think that cards, especially the major arcana, don't show up unless we are in it, you know, in it already, and also have shown an ability within us to handle the card. So you definitely have an inherent ability to address these questions, and it's really brave of you to do so, and I wish you the best of luck. Taurus, 10 of Pentacles. It's interesting in this deck that there are no humans, because in the 10 of Pentacles and the traditional deck there are a lot of human figures, and the dogs are both looking off at something like out of frame, and it's not back at the community, it's something else. Tens show us the end of a cycle. We either can continue on, you know, it's an opportunity to continue on in the way we've been, or we can choose to operate differently. And to me, this shows that whatever the sense of security that we used to feel, Taurus, that you used to feel, right, is represented in this castle situation. There's something else off frame that's catching your eye, and maybe it isn't visible to you yet, but there are opportunities that are coming towards you that you will begin to recognize this sense of safety, of belonging, of security. And I'm really excited for you. It's nice to be able to step into those feelings. And I'm hearing, because it is an opportunity, it is this choice point, what are you having to let go of? Because it does feel like you have to set something aside. You know, is that an old way of being? Is that, you know, a past relationship? Is this, you know, a job? Or a friendship, something like that? Like, what do you need to set aside? And commitments, definitely, that feels very big. Like, what commitments can you set aside that you've, maybe a new thing that you've signed up for that you thought would like aligned with a previous way of being's version of like how you used to think security would look like, and maybe you're like, no, I'm not really into that anymore. And so letting yourself change. So you're stepping into new security in your life, and you're also having to be in a period of evaluation to see what do you need to hold on to, what are you settling into when you're really looking for another thing, whatever this off-frame thing is. Gemini, Seven of Swords reversed. So this was Aries' card last time, and I am going to hold it reversed. And it's kind of interesting that regardless of if the orientation is this way or this way, the wind is still filling up the sail. And so it's merely like a change in direction. The Seven of Swords is a card of like calculated risk in terms of communications. It seems like you are maybe doing an about face on something. You were feeling, probably expressed to a number of people that you were feeling a particular way. And now you have more information, and now suddenly, whoop, we're going the other way. And it can sometimes be embarrassing when we've made a kind of public declaration of a certain thing that we feel a certain way, and then to discover, that, oh, actually, now I feel differently, or I think differently. You don't need to feel embarrassed by this. This merely shows that you are doing thinking, you are processing, you are taking in new information, and that's actually very admirable to do, to take in new information and to reevaluate things. And it shows that you're a flexible person, and a lot of times your flexibility, Gemini, is not celebrated as it should be. So I just want to take this moment to uplift you and say that that's a really great skill, and acknowledge that it can be uncomfortable, and we can second guess ourselves, or or wonder like, oh, what does this say about me? And it doesn't have to say anything about you inherently. We are separate from our thoughts, and some thoughts inform our identities, but not all of them. So you're doing a lot of mental lifting. Give yourself some grace if you find that you are changing your opinion on something. It doesn't have to be seen as a negative thing. Cancer, Queen of Pentacles reversed. I think this was Leo's card last week. So there is definitely this sense of, this feels like a card of travel, or of motion. There's some element of like, how can we bring elements of security with us, right? She's really holding that pentacle and she's bringing it along. And so for Cancers, right, there's so much focus on the home and creating home life and creating stability. And the fact of the matter is we can't always live in stability, especially if we have history of trauma. It can make us yearn for that even more, and also make us recognize that that's not necessarily a potential that can exist in the way that we're idealizing it. So this idea of home or security and comfort, and how can we bring it with us? A goal for a very long time, and I'm not sure if it's still a goal of mine, but for a very long time in my life, was to make myself my home, to really feel at home within myself, so that nothing, no matter the outside circumstances, that I would feel a sense of belonging within. And I'm wondering how that resonates with you, Cancer, if that's something that you think is, so far beyond your reach. Is it something that is really interesting to you? Is it something that you want to pursue? What are the things that make you feel secure, and how can you begin to integrate more of those things into your life? Instead of anticipating that, you'll never get that sense of security, right? How can you bring the things to you? How can you bring those things into your life? And really expand your idea of what security means. I am getting kind of a Five of Pentacles moment for you, not necessarily around not having what you need, but in the adjustments being made, or having to question what makes you feel secure, and what are you really looking for, and how can you meet those actual needs instead of the stereotype needs of what other people may say is security or is safety. Leo, Knight of Pentacles. There's a lot more like speed and motion in this card than in the traditional deck. He's like, it's funny because his position is kind of hunkered in, whereas the horse kind of gets the displayed, like the real like chariot sort of like idealized, like this is what a horse looks like and this is a horse in motion and that kind of stuff. And I'm feeling like for you, Leo, there's success that's coming into your life and there's like progress that's being made, but you're not getting the recognition yet of the role that you're playing. You kind of feel like, oh, I don't feel really great about this, or cool, there was a picture posted online, but it's not the right angle of me, or something like that, you know? Like you aren't quite satisfied with how you are being received, but know that the project is just beginning, that you are like, it is going to develop, and your role is going to develop more so that you are going to be, I don't know, I can't say for sure if you're going to be in the spotlight, but you are going to be recognized for the contributions that you're making. So just trust that you're in the middle of it, you're in the in-between, and this is a farmer card. It's very much like plant the seeds, tend to them. There's a lot of relationships that need to be built in order for this to really take roots. So focus on building the relationships, and don't worry about not receiving the full amount of recognition that you want just yet, because the project hasn't really reached that stage where you're able to shine the most and people are able to see that the most. Virgo, Seven of Wands. There's this idea with the Seven of Wands, and it's kind of like you against everybody else. And I'm hearing for you, Virgo, that your mode of like protecting against sort of the chaos, which is what it feels like of you against the world, is, you know, turning to your organization, turning to those lists, trying to plan as much as possible. And you are reaching a challenging week because you're really being asked to set aside those plans. It seems like the more you cling to those plans, the harder it's going to be to follow through on them, and the more disruption that's going to come. So if you can, just respond to things in a right-sized manner. I'm not saying that you can't have a response, that you have to be like total cool girl, like chill moment or anything, but if you have a response that's proportional to the stimulus, you're going to feel more in control and more ready to respond further, instead of being so clouded in your mind. But trying to let go of pre-planning and just trusting that if something comes up, that you will have the wherewithal to address it. I'm hearing a lot about like trusting yourself more, and this is a week of developing that trust, and that this development of trust is going to be employed in the future. So really just trust that this week is training you is to use different skills that are going to come in handy. You're still doing preparation, just in a slightly different way. All right, Libra. The Devil. I'm getting real close because this Devil card is gnarly. You got like two figures here. This like coat of hair, like a pyramid coat, very strange. A burning structure in the back, and this like bushel on fire, almost like a, you know, like he's smudging or something. This depiction of the devil is super interesting to me, because I'm like, did he set this place on fire? Is he cleansing after the fire? Who knows? Libra, I see you as occupying a lot of spaces and roles this week. And I'm hearing that you keep showing up, but you're not really sure what other people are seeing in you or what you're supposed to be showing up as, but you're just kind of going through the motions. I am definitely going to recommend that you take some time to really like clear your space. It's not that you have to rid yourself of any like dark energy necessarily. I mean, obviously just your own judgment of that, but the devil is not an inherently scary card, and I like to remind people of that. Like, the devil is not as scary as he looks. This devil just looks like a weirdo. Yeah, he just looks like a weird alien dude. Interesting. Okay, Libra, I'm thinking about these figures here, and I'm hearing like, who are you taking with you? Like, what ideas, what roles have you assumed that you have decided to carry along with you? And it's time to think about what has died away. There's a little skull here. What's taking on too much weight? Does this coat need a haircut? Like, are you carrying too much of the past with you? Are you willing to let it go? In other versions of the devil, there's people that are chained to something. But this devil is taking on these figures. And so it's like, who else is living in your head that is like not, is taking up space without giving anything back? And are you able to let go of these old voices? And if you aren't able to let go of them completely, at least have them state their purpose. Having curiosity and being like, hey, you're still sticking around here. Like me from 5 years ago. What can I help you with? Like, what can you offer me? And to have that conversation is going to help make this feel worth it for you, and that you're still making progress. Scorpio, Judgment. I love this card. I'm always trying to see like, oh, what shape is in the clouds? I'm not sure. If you find one, let me know in the comments. So Judgment, Scorpio, is a wake-up call. It's having to incorporate, and I'm trying to remember last week's reading, but the week before it was like 8 of Swords, of like having to take space away so that you can come to conclusions. So I'm seeing this Judgment as an integration, or maybe a solidification of the deeper truth that you encountered while you were taking space, and while you've been, last week I think it was 10 of Pentacles, of like honoring, or 10 of Cups, whatever, honoring your chosen family. So it's been a really important couple of weeks, and so really solidifying those lessons and saying, okay, if those things are true, what does that say about me? What does that say about where I want to go? What's important to me? And allow yourself to do a 180, allow yourself to be called to do something completely different, without judgment, and it's funny that it is called the Judgment card, but it's more of an awakening card. And judgment, not in terms of morality of right or wrong, but in terms of like evaluation of saying, is this right for me? Not is this right in general, but is it right for me? Really calling up your values so that you can make decisions that are based on your values, so you can live more in alignment and feel better in general. Big frickin' week. Woo! Alright, Sag. The moon reversed. I just had a reading where the moon came up and something really important came up, and I don't remember. If it's meant to be, it will come to me. I like to talk, when I talk about the moon, Sagittarius, I talk about like shifting conditions will allow for greater light. Oh, I remembered what it was. The presence of the moon implies the presence of the sun, S-U-N. And because, right, the moon reflects the light from the sun, even though it's not visible to us. So when we see the moon, we can trust that the sun still exists. It's almost this like beacon of hope, right? So maybe the moon doesn't provide us as much light as we need to do X, Y, or Z, but we can trust that when conditions change, there will be the sun because it's there just in a modified form. Kind of like reversals in general, right? If we can think of upright as the sun and reversed as the moon, because the light is still there, but it's not being fully expressed at 100%. I like that. That's good. And so you are entering into a period where things have felt pretty good, and you're entering into a period that feels maybe a little bit more sticky, like some shit is coming up that you're like, oh, I thought I was done dealing with this. I don't really want to deal with it. And so having to navigate that, which isn't necessarily fun, but trying to remind yourself that this is just this card for this week, and energy is always changing. So you are moving closer and closer and closer to the sun, to full illumination, to understanding, to enlightenment. That's the whole movement. And so this moon isn't going to be around necessarily everything in your life, but it could be around, something that's significant to you, a piece about your identity or a relationship or about, a project at work or whatever. But trust that understanding is coming in time. Where are we? Capricorn. Four of Pentacles. God, we've gotten this card a lot. I think you've gotten this card, actually. I'm seeing, like, these four as almost like a story that's being told, like something's unfolding, and like you keep getting more information that you then integrate. So it seems like you can recognize that this is just a transition point for you. You're at the beginning of this thing, and naturally when you gain more information, you're going to learn how to shift your energy more. So like in school, right, once you start getting in the swing of things, you can learn, okay, for this class, I can read like 25% of this and skim 75%, and I can just hear people being like, I can't skim any. And it's like, if you need to, you can. That's the thing. It's about recognizing what you're able to do, like your capacity, what, the structure allows you to do, and what you need to do to succeed. And understanding how to work within boundaries isn't necessarily duplicitous. I'll say that. It is a serious skill that I suggest that you spend time cultivating, because as you do this major work in the world, it will help you expend your energy in appropriate ways. And really, kind of like the message for Aries, I encourage you to listen to that too, of like questioning whether or not this expending of energy, like what is it for? Is it because you're really seeking outside validation? Or can you have internal validation, right? This card of calling in your power and making sure that you are resonating, like what you're doing is resonating with you first and foremost. Aquarius. The Hierophant reversed. So fives in general, we talk about them as adjustment cards. And the Hierophant, the major arcana, is about what's traditionally acceptable. What are the things that your family's always done, that you've always done, the things that you've assumed are correct. And so the idea of having an adjustment around what is traditional is a huge shift for a lot of people. It's not necessarily easy energy to manage. And so you're having to question some pretty big things around your identity, not just for yourself, but in how you relate to other people, how you relate to your family, how you relate to like your ideas of being, you know, a member of society, like around assumed gender roles and, you know, race and class and all of those other, you know, intersectional identities. Really going to town and thinking like, yeah, what does it mean to be that person in this world? Am I doing those things? Do I want to show up as that? Like, do I like how that's portrayed? Do I like that says about me? You know, and doing a lot of internal, external, like, what are people reflecting back to me? What does that say about me? I just want to get some advice about how to navigate that in a way that's gentle. I'm hearing that having sacred play is what I'm hearing. So having time, setting aside time to also just play. Like, this is really important work that you're doing, but you need to break from it. You need to start like having time that's totally separate, where you're just like, okay, I get to, you know, go to the park, or I get to go for a drive or a bike ride, or, you know, have some ice cream or call a friend or whatever. I mean, always these things are available to you. And when you're doing this deep inquiry, it's crucial that you have something that's light-hearted and light on your spirit to engage with, so that you don't totally burn out. Okay? Heavy lifting. You're doing great. Care about you so much. Pisces. 5 of Cups reversed. What I like about this one is that depending on its orientation, different cups, like there's always cups that are upright and always cups that are down. So if you think about it like this, right? Again, 5s being adjustment cards, just like Aquarius. This adjustment is around our feelings, and it's around processing grief and loss. There's this really amazing deck called Tarot for the Dream Enchantress, that's hard to say. And the 5 of Cups is underwater. It's like a mermaid with cups underwater. And in that space, you can't tell what cup has spilled and what cup is upright, like, because it's all underwater, you know? And so the idea of spilling something, of losing something, kind of loses its meaning when we're surrounded by water. And similarly, in this depiction, the cups are suspended in the air. There's nothing coming out of them. So it's not a card that tells you that the loss that you've experienced doesn't mean anything. I think that's BS. It's always important to honor our feelings. This card is asking you to adjust the significance that you're giving to these things. So don't be so hard and fast to be like, oh, this loss means this, or this story is about this. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, maybe it was about the loss of your job, but actually it was this larger narrative about you having to grieve over a loss of purpose, and like the purpose that you assign with your work. Or maybe you've gone through some kind of physical transition, right? And you think that all of the work has been around this physical transition, when in reality it is also, right? Notice also, so that, and it's also about this like deep, like emotional wound that you're healing, a repairing to make yourself feel whole again. So really diving deep when you're exploring your grief and these explorations, and be willing to look at other things that might be at play. Whew. And also please treat yourself this week, because this is hard work to do. Okay, I'm gonna shuffle. Cut the deck and pull a card for the collective. Let's pull one more too. How fun is this? know what moon phase we're in right now. So this idea of that's true, moving from new moon to full moon right now, and then the 10 of Cups. So, excuse me, we're in a period as the collective of beginning to actualize this piece of like moving from setting intentions towards achieving them, right? And it's interesting to have this stage with the 10 of Cups, because the 10 of Cups shows this kind of like pinnacle of celebration. But with that 10, it offers us, like all 10s, an opportunity to continue the way things were or to make another choice. And so we're able to say, after our period of intention setting, is this working for me? Like, is this still interesting? Is this really what I want? Is this fulfilling me, or is this fulfilling some kind of idea of success that's outside of me, right? And making sure that our choices are rooted in internal satisfaction instead of external. Because normally there's a rainbow on this card, right? This kind of external display of beauty, and it fades away and it goes away. But what is internal and is lasting is the stuff that's within. It's this commitment that's being made. And so how are we committing to ourselves? How are we showing up for ourselves this week? And how can we start new projects and start new things that are in alignment with how we want to feel, and the things that we want to do based on our own values. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. It was a blast. Go ahead and watch the monthly reading. Feel free to check in with that reading at any time to put these cards in more perspective and to give you more insights. Please like and subscribe, and you can tap the bell to be notified when I have a new video. And I look forward to talking to you later. Okay, bye.